Have you ever walked into someone's home and noticed an entire shelf dedicated to vintage bottle caps? Or maybe you have a friend who swears they need every ceramic frog they've ever come across, and somehow they're up to 47. You probably laughed, maybe even judged a little. But here's the thing, that collector might actually have one of the most fascinating minds in the room. We live in a world that constantly tells us to declutter, minimize, let go. And yet millions of people do the exact opposite. They gather, they keep, they curate. And psychologists are starting to understand that this impulse isn't quirky or compulsive. It's deeply, beautifully human. So why do some people feel magnetically drawn to collecting things that on the surface seem completely useless? Let me take you inside the collector's brain for a moment. When someone picks up a new item for their collection, say a vintage matchbook or a signed napkin from a restaurant they loved, their brain releases a small but satisfying surge of dopamine. It's the same chemical that fires when you win a game, finish a workout, or hear your favorite song. The collection becomes a game your brain plays with itself. Every new piece is a little victory, and your brain, it loves winning. But there's something deeper going on than just a dopamine loop. Research in consumer psychology suggests that collectors aren't really gathering objects, they're gathering meaning. Each item becomes a container for memory, identity, and emotion. That shoebox full of concert ticket stubs isn't clutter, it's a timeline of joy. It's proof that you were there, that you felt something, that life was rich enough to leave artifacts behind. Think about it like this. Before photographs were invented, people pressed flowers into books. They kept locks of hair. They saved letters. Humans have always been archivists of their own lives. Collecting is just that instinct wearing a different outfit. Now, psychologists also talk about something called the extended self, a concept developed by consumer researcher Russell Belk. The idea is surprisingly simple. The things we own become part of how we understand who we are. A person who collects maps isn't just someone with a lot of paper on their wall. They're someone who sees themselves as a wanderer, an explorer, a person who values knowing where things are and where they've been. The collection is a mirror, and sometimes it tells you more about a person than any conversation could. There's also a beautiful social dimension to collecting that gets overlooked. Collectors tend to find each other. They form communities, trade stories, debate the obscure details that no one else cares about. And in those moments, something magical happens. These random things become the language of belonging. The objects create connection. Of course, collecting exists on a spectrum. When it tips into anxiety, into compulsive hoarding that causes real distress, that's where professional support matters. But for most collectors, the habit is a form of self-expression that's every bit as valid as painting or journaling. So the next time you see someone's carefully arranged collection of something you don't understand, vintage erasers, antique spoons, novelty keychains, pause before you judge. What you're really looking at is a person who found a way to make the world feel less chaotic, more meaningful, more theirs. We're all collecting something. Some of us just admit it. What do you collect, even if you've never called it that? Drop it in the comments. And if this made you see your own habits a little differently, maybe that's worth a subscribe.